One of the last to launch their campaign, Penny Mordaunt is gaining profile and support. For some Tory members, it seems, she combines a bit of distance from Boris Johnson that isn't seen as treacherous.
The Right Honourable Penny Mordaunt MP, our next Prime Minister! Recently, I think our party has lost its sense of self. If I can compare it to being in the Glastonbury audience when Paul McCartney was playing his set, we indulged all those new tunes, but what we really wanted was the good old stuff that we all knew the words to. Low tax, small state, personal responsibility.
Some in Rishi Sunak's camp say she is the challenger they most fear. Both camps are claiming their candidate is the one the wider public would go for.
I am the candidate that Labour fear the most. And they're right to.
In the first round of MPs voting, Rishi Sunak secured first place with a quarter of MPs supporting him. Penny Mordaunt won second place, which she hopes will give her momentum to stay there. Liz Truss is 17 votes behind her, hoping to spring forward as other campaigns collapse. Kemi Badenoch secured 40 MPs' support. Tom Tugendar, 27. The Attorney General, Suella Braverman, got just over the line with 32. No such luck for the man who's been Chancellor for a week, Nadhim Zahawi. He missed the cut-off, set at 30. Former Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt, who fought Boris Johnson 4 years ago for the leadership, also failed to make the cut.
Look, I'm really pleased to see that colleagues recognise that Penny has a meaningful offer to make and that she is a really strong candidate. And I'm just hopeful that more colleagues come to see that she is the right person to lead our party and to lead our country.
I'm backing Kemi at this stage, Kemi Badenoch, and I think she's got huge momentum. She only started from a completely standing start.
Penny's done well, Kemi's done well, Tom's done well. I think that the message I take from that is that people are looking for a clean start, are looking for something different.
Rishi has got what it takes.
Rishi Sunak's campaign team released a video filmed at yesterday's launch. The very slickness of his operation grates with some who suspect he long plotted Boris Johnson's downfall.
I was around when Margaret Thatcher was knifed.
And you see echoes of it now?
Oh, very much so, yes.
A huge number of MPs, and they feel a huge number of party members, blame certain individuals quite squarely for what happened to Boris Johnson, and they're not in forgiving mood.
I think that's right, yes.
Rishi Sunak, for one.
Exactly, yes, because they think that he's prepared his campaign. He was always undermining the Prime Minister. And I think it goes further than that. I mean, I think he's a person who is basically putty in the hands of officialdom. And what I want is...
He's gone native in the Treasury, you think?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you a bit surprised by how much some of your colleagues seem to have it in for Rishi Sunak?
You know what I think happens in each leadership contest, that right at the beginning, I remember hearing this actually right back to the Cameron leadership contest, people say, oh, this is going to be terribly fractious this time, everyone's going to... And actually what happens after a while is the contest settles down.
No sign of that yet.
Hi guys.
Backbencher Tom Tugendar sounded like he was calling Rishi Sunak a bean counter on defence spending, and that he was running scared of proper scrutiny.
Because anybody who's hiding from you guys today can't possibly argue that they can make the argument to the country.
Who's hiding?
In 2 years' time. Nobody is hiding.
Well, you just said.
Anybody who is. Anybody who is.
It seems the whole point of this is to have a shot at Rishi Sunak.
Everybody's done a launch.
Now, unusually, Penny is determined to answer a number of questions.
It's a narrative the campaign, now in second place, is also pushing. As for the bean counter accusation, Penny Mordaunt's supporters weren't quite sure if that was a good thing or not. The debate seems to be being divided at the moment into bean counters versus fairy tale tellers. Which one is Penny Mordaunt, or is she split the difference?
Very much a bean counter. Because she knows what she's doing, she's, run effective departments.
Bean counters versus fairy tale tellers. Which is Penny Mordaunt, or is she split the difference?
Well, she's very, very consciously set out a serious, robust economic policy.
You're not engaging with my...
No, she's splitting the difference. I totally agree.
That's what makes some on the right, like this Suella Braverman supporter, reluctant to back Penny Mordaunt if the Attorney General is out next round. Is he weighing up between Liz Truss and Penny Mordaunt?
No, I would be very much for Liz Truss rather than Penny Mordaunt.
If Suella Braverman gets knocked out.
No, yes, I'm answering your question straight.
And that's who you think should be out there in the country up against Rishi Sunak, and you think she'd beat him?
I do, and I don't think Rishi will be in the last two.
It's possible this will be our last confrontation over this. It's possible.
In the Commons, for what he said might be his last appearance, Boris Johnson adjusted his clothing and said his pride was undimmed.
And I'm also proud of the leadership that I have given. And I will be leaving, Mr. Speaker. I will be leaving soon with my head held high.
It's time for the cameras to leave the room. And we will start our hustings.
The committee room the results were announced in is now the setting for hustings between the surviving 6 candidates, while their teams scrabble for more votes and critical momentum.
Well, I'm joined now by Alberto Costa, who's backing Penny Mordaunt. Ben Bradley is supporting Kemi Badenoch, and Laura Farris is a backer of Rishi Sunak. Alberto Costa first. I mean, it doesn't really make sense, does it, that a minister so less experienced than Rishi Sunak is creeping up on him? What's going on?
Well, as the longest serving MP of the British Parliament's Committee on Standards, the question that I ask myself, looking at all the candidates, is which candidate would quickly restore the trust of the British electorate from Scotland to England, Wales and Northern Ireland? And I concluded that Penny Mordaunt would quickly re-establish that trust that's necessary both for the Conservative Party and indeed for Conservative voters.
And Rishi Sunak can't because he was involved in it.
Across the whole country. I'm not going to disparage any other candidate. We're very lucky in the Conservative Party to have great candidates, and at the end of the day we'll unite around whoever wins. But I'm confident that the Conservative Party members, looking at all the candidates, are asking us as MPs to put forward Penny Mordaunt. She's the lady, she's the candidate that's going to make the best Prime Minister out of the panoply of candidates that we've got.
Laura Farris, is that making you nervous?
No, it's not making me nervous. I have a lot of respect for Penny, and I understand why she's come a strong second. But the truth is, this is not a time for anybody who doesn't have full experience to walk in on top of 4 crises. There's the energy crisis, there's huge inflationary pressure, there's a war in Ukraine, and there's issues in Northern Ireland. So I think it's absolutely imperative that the person who comes in is ready to hit the ground from day one. And I think
Penny Mordaunt just wouldn't be.
Well, the hustings are going on now, the parliamentary hustings, and it's the first time the six candidates have gone back to back, and it was. I would say this, but it was really striking to me how Rishi Sunak was head and shoulders, I thought, above the others. Not because they're not great, but because his grasp of government, every single aspect of it, through running the Treasury, through the last kind of 2 years, a major crisis before, I thought that was pretty apparent.
Ben Bradley, I mean, Kemi Badenoch's the least experienced. A lot of people are making the point that if you were in opposition now, you might go for her. Maybe she's exactly what you need, totally fresh start. But this is Prime Minister you're electing. Well, and it's just unrealistic.
She's not the least experienced. She's been a minister in multiple departments. I don't think Tom has been a minister, so she's not the least experienced. The thing that is telling for me is every single minister she worked with in her last department, in the local government department, is backing her campaign. They've seen her in action and they think that she can do it. They've seen that leadership spark in her. But what I think the fact that Penny is doing so well with the members and Kemi is doing so well with the members should tell us is that those membership and the wider public want something fresh. They want something new, and I think they see that in Kemi.
And you don't feel that the right need to decide. You need to pick. Is it Suella Braverman, is it Liz Truss, or is it Kemi Badenoch? Who's going to be your standard bearer? Because they can't all go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's not my decision, is it? I think over the course of the coming days, we'll see how the votes go. It's not going to be, I don't think, Kemi that is going to come under pressure in votes over the next few days. She's had a really good showing today. Well, she's had a really good showing today, and she beat all those other candidates. Behind those obvious big 3 that are the obvious ones from the start, she's next in line, and she's come from a standing start. Her campaign started on Friday. She's done incredibly well.
Alberto, I mean, what I'm getting a lot on social media is, when you've got them in front of you on Friday, put to them that they are up to their neck in the last government. That's the real problem here. And Penny Mordaunt didn't resign. That's the bottom line, isn't it?
Well, as I said, I'm the longest serving member of the Committee on Standards. There's no issue with standards and integrity with any of the candidates. They're a good panoply of candidates. But Penny Mordaunt, I believe, from the polling that we've seen as recently as just a few hours ago, will quickly re-establish trust with the British electorate, and underpinning all the policies that all the candidates are professing.
But she didn't stand
trust
up,
is
did
the
she?
most important issue.
She never stood up to Boris Johnson and said, "You've got it wrong."
Well, the polls show that the British electorate would trust Penny Mordaunt the most, and I think this is the key to having a united Conservative Party and a strong Conservative government.
Do you get that, why the polls are saying that? Because we've seen so little of all the candidates. I mean, Penny Badenoch never does interviews.
Well, she is now. I think we've all got to go out there and get a message across. Kemi's working really hard to do that, and I think she's really caught the public interest. You've seen across the media in recent days, people are asking that question, what is she about? And when it comes to public trust, when it comes to public trust and integrity, I think she's laid out a really clear message saying, actually, we need to level with the British people about what government can and can't do, about making sure we do those most important things right. She said in her speech yesterday, why are we looking at diversity offices in the NHS when we can't turn around passports in the right time? Let's get the basics right.
She's
and
the
give that
culture
quality
warrior,
back for
though,
people.
as well, isn't she, in this lineup? I mean, she wants to pick on these sort of culture issues, and there's no sign that the voters and Conservative supporters really want that.
Well, whenever I've shared her speeches as an Equalities Minister on those really often emotive issues and difficult issues where she's been really brave and stood up for what my constituents would call common sense, I think, she's very often, they've been the most talked about things where people have applauded and said, you know what, I'm glad somebody's finally saying it. She's always stood up in those conversations, and I think that's really important.
Rishi Sunak's largely staying away from those sorts of areas, isn't he?
I think Rishi Sunak is avoiding the culture wars because I think he is a unifying candidate, and he's trying to appeal as much in seats like Ben's as he is in seats like mine in Newbury, and I think that I think getting into some of those issues doesn't have the same appeal across the country, and I think that the right candidate to be Prime Minister should recognise that.
Do you feel this campaign is pushing the candidates to say more right-wing things?
No, actually I don't. I think it started off that way, and I think it sort of tempered itself and kind of self-corrected on probably yesterday. One of the things, I understand why you've got...
Although your man apparently said, maybe the BBC licence fee can go. I mean, that's something he opposed in government.
I haven't heard him say that. I read the tweet, but for example, with all the candidates at the hustings tonight, I've had a question on net zero. Would they remain committed to the 2050 target? And Rishi was unequivocal. And I think it had been whispered, oh no, he would waver on that note. He was unequivocal that was a core part of his Conservative values. So I don't think you're seeing a sort of polarising campaign that he's trying to lead at all. Neither is Kemi.
I just wanted to say that I don't think those are right-wing issues. I think it's a case of, and Kemi's point has always been in this conversation, we need to have a proper debate. The reason they're difficult and emotive is because they're really important. And actually, I've always said that culture is key to absolutely everything, whether it's how and where you choose to spend your money. That's about priorities and what you value, and that whole conversation is about culture.
I mean, Penny Mordaunt has actually been accused of sort of letting down the people who were supporting her because she's walked away from being a trans ally.
Not at all. What Penny is putting at the forefront of her mind is what is in the best interests of the British people. She's talked today about British families, and families comes in all shapes and sizes. She's talked today about childcare. She's talked today about women's rights. These are really important factors for the British electorate. But look, underpinning it all, as I've said at the outset, we mustn't forget why we are here today. We're here today because the British government under Boris Johnson collapsed, not because of policy differences with any of the other candidates, but because of integrity and trust. And Penny Mordaunt is head and shoulders above the other candidates when it comes to re-establishing trust with the British electorate.
All right, Albert Costa, Ben Bradley, Laura, thank you very much indeed.